Hello and welcome to this mini-series. On this episode we are going to explore the problem of abrogation in Islam. Abrogation means to repeal a law or a verse which was previously binding. According to Islamic tradition, Quranic verses are abrogated for different reasons. For example, the Quran states that there is no compulsion in religion, however that verse is abrogated by a later verse which instructs Muslims to fight the non-Muslims until all worship is for Allah. Another example of abrogation is verses which used to be part of the Quran but they are no longer in the book, yet the laws derived from those verses is still used in Islamic traditions. The most hilarious example is about a sheep eating some verses. You can watch the meme video about it on this channel. So, verses are missing from the Quran, yet the rules are still in use. So much for perfect preservation, right? However, there is more than meets the eye. This is one of the verses that inspires the concept of abrogation. As you can see, the Quran says that verses are not abrogated, but a better one is brought forth instead. That is contradicted by the sheep story though, so we know there is a problem with the standard Islamic narrative superimposed on this verse. Let's unpack it. The verse talks about verses being replaced by better ones. Remember that, and let's look at the context. The next verse is a generic verse about God which provides no further information. However, the verse after that does. The writer or speaker addresses the crowd, asking them whether they will question their messenger as Moses was questioned before. The standard Islamic narrative says that the unnamed messenger in this verse is Muhammad, however we have already explained in previous videos that Muhammad is not in the Quran, but he was a later invention. Also, why would the speaker mention the messenger before the current one is Moses? That's because the messenger mentioned here is Jesus. The following verse gives further context. The preacher warns the listeners that those who reject Jesus would like to make the listeners, those who accept the Messiah, to reject him and to turn to the way of the rabbinic Jews. The Quran is full of verses like those. Now we can go back and understand the inspiration of abrogation and expose the lie. The audience of these verses were Christianized and they understood instantly that the verse meant the law from Jesus. They understood that Jesus did not remove the laws of Moses, but he brought forth some updated and better instructions. For example, he removed restrictions on food and sacrificing animals. Therefore, the concept of originally was the gospel improving on the previous commands in the Torah, but during the creation of Islam they twisted the meaning as they did with everything else. Note how silly it is to think that God would reveal a command, and within the same scripture abrogate it, and how it makes sense for a new revelation to improve on the previous one. We hope you've enjoyed this quick explanation of how the concept of abrogation was corrupted to suit Islamic agendas. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Stay tuned for further explanations of the Quran and Islamic traditions. We have some very shocking reveals coming soon. Thank you for watching. See you soon.